Welcome, everybody, to the premiere episode of DC Domingo. My name is Sergio, and I'll be your host. A little bit about our channel. First and foremost, the introduction. As you read on the page description, I'm just a fan of DC Comics, and that's all we're going to talk about. Mainly because that's how it was when I was a kid. You know, I just read my comics, and that was the end of it. There wasn't really any need to explain myself to trolls online or any of that nonsense that exists now in today's media. There will be some discussions about analyzing, certain storylines, video games, TV shows, definitely the movies. Mainly because a lot of people are very uninformed, and they only read what the big media tells them, and sometimes they don't even care to think for themselves. So there are some few fans out there who really love DC Comics, and we just want to get our voices heard. I think that because the other brand is more popular and it's pumping out more films, it's a little bit more mainstream. But the fact that not a lot of movie reviews even acknowledge which comics they're based from, whether it's the Ultimate Universe or regular Marvel continuity, or which age of Marvel, kind of gives me a sense that there really aren't a lot of good analysis out there by, the film review community. But as far as DC, they seem to really bring a lot of analysis that sometimes isn't given to the other guys. So that's the only critique that you will hear about Marvel, unless they say something directly to me or fans, because I really see no reason to trash the other brand. I have another gaming channel, mainly focusing on the particular console that I like, and I'm going to do the same to that aspect. I'm just going to focus on things that I like. For instance, there is a wonderful DC Comics featuring an all-female cast for younger ages. I have nieces and nephews, and if one of them likes that TV show and wants to contribute, that's fine. I'm not a big fan of roller coasters, and DC Comics has Six Flags, and they often have some really cool stuff. I'm not gonna be reviewing a roller coaster if I'm not into them. So yeah, a lot of YouTubers over here and online, they just comment on everything for attention, and sometimes they really have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So I'm just gonna focus on things that I like. When I was a kid, that's what we did. You just do your stuff, and that's it. There was no need to defend it or talk about it. And I had a certain deja vu, because my friend who I went to high school with experienced this when punk was going mainstream pop. He was a punk before it was popularized by Hot Topic, and he went through the same grief that I'm going through, whereas people who claim to be one thing don't really know about it. And, DC All Access on YouTube has a lot of coverage, but that's from a company's standpoint. They do have certified fans every once in a while, but I'm not a certified fan yet. I just want to bring a new aspect to it. Now, what makes me unique is that, I've been a comic book fan since, probably age of 4. I know. What happened was that my mom and my dad, I was in Mexico, and my dad was here. I lived with my mom and my other brothers and sisters, and, they used to write letters to each other, and at the very end, I would draw a picture. And I remember at 4 years old, I still have this drawing. I made a little countdown of a little rocket ship with an alien on it. And that was my intro to comic books. Later on, my mom wanted me to read. Every day she would buy a newspaper in the newsstands. And she would buy me comics every once in a while, like Richie Rich, Wendy, Casper, the Friendly Ghosts. And in Mexico, the comic book culture is very different. Over there, everybody read comics. They look like mass markets paperbacks over here in the States, but they're a little bit shorter in length, and all the genres are available. Like horror comics, cowboy comics are really big in Mexico, and comics for kids, comics with Mexican wrestlers, politics comics, romance comics, you name it. Everybody read comics in Mexico. It's basically like a way to get you to read over there. Back then we had a higher illiterate percentage of people, and comics was a good gateway to novels, full-blown novels and stuff like that. So my mom got me into comics, and that's how I was here. One of the interesting things is that as a child, you see newspapers with images that you later see on television covered as real news. When I was like 3 or 4 years old, I would see like Mexican wrestler comics, and you would see Mexican wrestlers on the arena. Seeing Batman and Superman in the newsstands as a 3 or 4 year old kid, you wouldn't make sense of it. And I thought that those guys necessarily didn't really exist because I don't see them anymore on news. But I imagined that Batman and Superman existed, and these were stories that were being printed about them. Because, I would see the news and Mexican wrestlers and then Superman and Batman. So for a while I thought, superheroes are real, which is awesome. It's a great childhood, by the way. And that's where I come from, When I first came to the U.S., I had to learn English very quickly. So finding comics was difficult because I didn't go out as much. I just went to school and stayed home. I had no friends. And, we went to see, what was it? Batman Returns. And our local cinema had a little display of a comic book, shop. An entire shop for comics, which is unprecedented in a lot of places all over the world. It's kind of a rare item now in the USA. So that was my first introduction to comics in the USA, and I fell in love with comics. My vices weren't teenage rebellion or drugs or whatever. It was mostly books. So that was pretty cool. Anyways, so that's where I come from, and that's the kind of perspective that you're going to get on this channel. Now, there are 2 wonderful books that I recommend everybody to read. It's the updated version of the DC Encyclopedia. I will be going through a lot of that throughout all these podcasts so that you guys can actually, learn about, unknown characters or, little trivia notes every once in a while. The other one is the graphic history of DC Comics 75-year celebration. It's really nice. It kind of gives you a history of DC throughout the whole ages. And I will be covering a lot of that, giving you aspects. Next week, the podcast is going to be, a good chunk of it is going to have a segment called DC doesn't need to catch up to Marvel, because I don't know if you know this, but DC Comics has been making movies since 1943. That's right. And I will go through all the history and all the various projects that they've done over the years, so that it kind of gives you an idea of who needs to catch up to whom. So that's going to be next week. Right now, this is just the introductory podcast, and welcome you here. I will be doing one in English, and the description will say English, so that you can check it out on your free time. We're also going to be uploading to iTunes, so that people that don't have a lot of streaming capabilities, they just download it and listen to it on their car, their way to work, at any time they want to, without worrying about streaming. So we're going to be doing that. Also, in the coming weeks, I will be uploading small videos. Later on, I'm going to upload a very cool video that's about 90 minutes. So you guys will have fun with that. Well, anyways, we're going to cover a few topics today. The very first one is Injustice 2, the sequel to Injustice Gods Among Us. The video game has a release date. It's scheduled for May 16th of 2017. And if you check out online, there's a lot of nice video footage. I will be doing, some plays and uploading them here. But one of the things that I gotta tell you is that I'm probably going to get a lot of bad scores because I don't like fighting games that much. I like, things where I can explore. But anyways, I will be uploading that. We had some really cool releases for that and some cool wallpapers. On the description, I will link you up to the official website. The other one is that the newspaper USA Today released a photograph of the Justice League movie featuring Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman. It's really cool. They're building up the hype. I am definitely hyped. And the video that I'm going to upload has something to do with this. Next topic. Now, the next topic is that Batman vs. Superman was nominated for Razzie Awards, which is kind of the mock of the Oscars. And they usually give out prizes to bad movies. This year in particular, they decided to take aim at, big franchises, They definitely seem like the lazy awards because they really didn't do any, actual bad movies that are too bad for, mainstream release that were, available for just one weekend. And in a year that we've had really bad romantic comedies, really crappy horror movies, or really horrible, slasher flicks or suspense thrillers, they decided to go for big busters like Independence Day, Batman vs. Superman, even the Assassin's Creed movie that I had some problems with are far better off that, something like Alvin and the Chipmunks, for instance. But the Razzie Awards, they want to get their notoriety out. They want to be known. So this is a great way for them to do it. The video that I'm going to upload, it's a very, very fresh review of Batman vs. Superman theatrical cut. I will be uploading a review of the extended cut later on. I did a very, very extensive review of the expanded one when I decided to take on Channel Awesome and their mock video. I will link that up for you below. It's on a blog, so you have to read it. But it's an epic takedown because I basically obliterated them point by point. And all I had to do was watch the movie. Which is, in a nutshell, the problem that Batman vs. Superman had is that for some reason people didn't watch the movie. They were completely misguided, apparently. It's almost like a child who has attention deficit disorder, and you're trying to make them watch something that they really don't care about. That's basically the only, in a nutshell, what it is, because every single so-called plot hole, it's in the movie. It's almost like they didn't watch it. Cool. Alright, so I'm not going to do politics, but the next topic is Mark Hamill is trending right now because he's reading tweets from the President Donald Trump in the Joker voice. Make that as you like. But it is something, DC related. So that's trending. Check it out if you want to. You don't have to. Now, the biggest news of this week is that Constantine is rumored to be picked up by CW to return. If you've never seen Constantine, do yourself a favor and go to CW and check it out. It is really great. Matt Ryan did an amazing job. If you've never heard of him, he's doing some plays in New York. He also did the voice for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, an amazing actor. And I'm looking forward to the return of Constantine. All right, so this is all for now for the introductory, video for this. I will be uploading videos, and I hope you like them. Thank you. Make DC Domingo your homepage. Bye.